One of the greatest influences on the formation of the American government was the Roman Republic. In this system, elected representatives vote on proposed legislation. Each citizen that is an eligible voter makes a decision on who they wish to represent their interests in government. The division in Roman legislature between the Senate and the tribunes is paralleled in American government today. The Roman Senate was a sect of the legislature that represented the interest of the patricians, or the aristocracy, while the tribunes, who were composed of plebeians, represented the common people of Rome. Much like the Roman Senate, the American Senate was created with more stringent qualifications to ensure that the members were well educated and older. Although the Senate has become less exclusive over time, it is still recognized as the higher body of the American legislative branch. It is important to note that the Roman Senate lacked any real legislative power, unlike the American Senate, which has had some of the greater government responsibilities, like ratifying treaties. The House of Representatives is comparable to the tribunes because it is recognized as the people's branch. The tribunes had the real legislative power in the Roman government, which can be seen in the American government. All bills for raising revenue originate in the House of Representatives, which is arguably one of the most important functions of government. Although tribunes were not initially delegated to this level of responsibility, they were still granted the power to enact laws, which is the focal responsibility of the legislature.
The position of the Roman consul parallels that of the American president. Both consuls and the president have the responsibility to command over the army, execute decrees, and represent the state in foreign affairs. Although the consuls technically presided over the Senate, which gave them a greater role in the legislature, the American president's influence over the policy direction of the legislative branch is arguably just as influential.
The American government was most certainly modeled after the Roman Republic, as the similarities between the two government formats are blinding. But this does not limit the influence of other classical government structures on American government. The inclusion of aspects of Athenian democracy has been advocated for by a host of individuals throughout the development of the American government.
Even though the influence of the format of the Roman Republic is extremely visible in American government, the influence of Athenian ideals concerning government still persist in American democracy today. The concepts that were articulated by ancient Greek philosophers on the ideal form of government can be found in their written works. In Aristotle's work, The Politics, he advocates for the importance of the separation of powers in government, stating that a successful government has three components: the deliberative, official, and judicial elements. This separation is not only seen in the Roman government, but also in the modern American government separation of powers. The legislative branch, which deliberates new legislation, the executive branch, which acts as a presiding official, and the judicial branch, which decides controversial legal actions, are a clear parallel to Aristotle's ancient Greek ideal. Furthermore, Plato's thoughts on a mixed government continue to exist in modern politics. Similar to Aristotle, Plato believed that the ideal form of government is mixed, a combination of democracy, aristocracy, and monarchy. In this way, the aspects of government where one person, a group of people, and those ruled all have a fair way in the lawmaking process. This can also be paralleled to the American government, where the President, Congress, and citizen voters collaborate to approve legislative action.
The famous American political activist Thomas Paine was an advocate of the Athenian style of direct democracy, where citizens vote directly on political issues. Paine considered it as a model for the American system, arguing that Americans have more to admire and less to condemn of the Athenians. He considered direct democracy a great starting point for the government of the United States, with the ability for every American voice to be heard. Other founding fathers of the United States, including James Madison, wished to avoid direct democracy, fearing it would eventually fall victim to factionalism. However, Paine was adamant about its power, believing that what Athens was in miniature, America will be in magnitude, and continued to push for the system of direct democracy.
Although the United States has developed into a representative democracy, the Athenian government and Thomas Paine's influence remains in the American Constitution today, with state ballot initiatives and referendums. The ballot initiative process allows the proposal of new statutes or amendments to the Constitution directly by citizens. Similarly, the referendum process allows for citizens to place newly passed laws on a ballot for the voters themselves to decide whether or not it should be upheld. These two legislative processes display the foundation of Athenian direct democracy, providing citizens with the opportunity to to directly influence legislation and incorporates the idea into modern American democracy.
Advocacy for the inclusion of more aspects of Athenian democracy has sparked heated debate in modern society. The system of the Electoral College has come into question in the past few decades, and the opposition to the current system has advocated for direct presidential election. The system of the Electoral College is one that models the voting bodies of the Roman Republican government. Votes were collected from groups known as tribes and centurias. Each of these groups had a majority vote, which was collected from members within the group. The weight of each of the members' votes was equal, but not all of the majority votes had an equal weight. This meant that some tribes or centurias had a greater influence over election decisions than other groups.
The electors of the Electoral College model are chosen from the political parties of each state. Each elector's vote has the same weight as any other member in their state. However, each state carries a different weight of votes that is based on population. When the state of California has 55 electoral votes, Wyoming has only 3. The disparity in vote weight mimics that of the Roman voting tribes and centurias. The system of counting the member votes to become a majority vote is derived from the format of Roman voting bodies.
After 2 presidential elections in the past 20 years have not reflected the popular vote, the merits of the Electoral College system have been brought into question. The voter-eligible population of the United States far exceeds the number of members in the Electoral College. The push to have direct presidential election in the United States is also a push to incorporate the ideals of Athenian democracy into the American government. Despite the dominant influence of the government of the Roman Republic in America, it is important to recognize the influence of direct democracy today.